Hey fam, Daniel here, and welcome back to Whole True Apologetics, where we seek answers to tough questions. Let me start today by reading a quote to you guys. This quote is by A.W. Tozer. He stated this: "What comes to our minds when we think of God is the most important thing about us." Let me say that one more time. What comes to our minds when we think of God is the most important thing about us. Meaning, this is A.W. Tozer talking, but what is he meaning? He's meaning that what we think of God and how we define God is extremely important. Because if we think and define God wrong, then we'll live our life based on something that's not true. He goes on, Tozer goes on to state this. He says, "The history of mankind will probably show that no people has ever risen above its religion. No religion has ever been greater than its idea of God. Therefore, this question we're really digging in these next couple weeks of who is God is not just an intellectual question, but this greatly and directly affects every aspect of our lives. Because if we have a wrong belief and a wrong understanding of who God is, if you're Christian or non-Christian, if you have a wrong understanding of who God is, we're going to be basing our life on that. And if we base our life on something that's not true, we'll be living on a false foundation that can just be pulled out from under us." Now let me break it down for you guys a little bit so you understand this. Now, in our culture today, we're in a culture that's full of choices. Full of choices, all right? You go anywhere, you eat this restaurant or that restaurant, this place or that place, all right? Or you got Hulu or Netflix or a million other streaming devices. And we got all these different choices. Guinness says that's kind of what's also happened with people's understanding of God, that we've now reduced God to consumer's choice. As in, we kind of want this aspect and this aspect and this aspect, or we kind of form and mold and make up this hodgepodge false God that's not even real. All right? And then we base our life on this hodgepodge false God that's not even real, which is extremely dangerous because we're building on a false foundation. Now, I want to show you how this directly affects our life, how a wrong understanding of God will directly affect our life. The first thing is it affects our view of sin. Our view of God directly affects our view of sin. All right? Because what does that mean? If we create a hodgepodge God that we like, all right, this is not the true God, this hodgepodge God will conveniently approve of the sin or the things in our life that are not good. All right? So obviously our view of sin and how we live our life is directly affected by our view of God. Because if we view God as just loving and just wanting to accept everyone with open arms, but God that doesn't judge or doesn't say, oh, that's wrong, then we're going to be like, okay, God's okay with everything. So it greatly affects our view of sin. It greatly affects our view of sin. It also affects our view of our purpose. It also greatly affects our view of our purpose. If we view that we are the one to determine the purpose of our lives. I am the captain of my own soul. I'm the captain of my own fate. I do everything myself. Now, if that's true, or we have this idea that the purpose of life is just to make money or to build a family, which aren't bad things, or open up a business, those aren't bad things, but if we determine those as our purposes, well, that is directly affected by our view of God. Because if we view God as like, God's just like, you know what, just live your happy life, be the happiest you can be, then we're going to live our life according to that, rather than according to what God actually says. And the last thing I want to point out that it greatly affects how we respond during hard times. It greatly affects how we respond during hard times. If we believe, someone believes in God, but they believe God is a distant God, as in God is like, maybe he's created everything, but he's kind of withdrawn and not really involved in creation or in our lives. If that's our view of God, then when we're going through our times, we would view God as abandoned us and doesn't have anything to do with us in our situation. And we just got to pull ourselves out of every situation, and we just got to muscle through it, or whatever way you want to define it. But you understand all of that, all of those responses during hard times is directly affected by what? Our view of God. And even if you're here right now and you're like, well, I don't believe in God. Well, that directly affects how you live your life. 100% affects how you live your life. If you view God as not real and not true, then that greatly affects what you view as right and wrong. Because who defines right and wrong? You? then if you're the one who defines right or wrong, that's pretty up in the air. Now, also directly affects what you think your purpose is. That directly affects how you respond during hard times. That directly affects how you view your identity, how you view if you have value and purpose. Do you see what I mean? So these next weeks, we're going to be looking at and challenging ourselves to rethink our idea of God. Rethink our idea of God, because it's vitally important to have a true and right understanding of who God is, and not build our lives on a God that we've made up, but rather build our lives on who the true God is. Who the true God is. So I just want to end with a verse from Jeremiah. It's in Jeremiah 9. It says this. It says, "Not the wise boast of their wisdom, or the strong boast of their strength, or the rich boast of their riches, but let the one who boasts boast of this, that they have the understanding to know me, that I am the Lord, who exercises kindness, justice, righteousness on earth. For in these things I delight, declares the Lord." So these next weeks, I encourage you to join me, invite other people to join me. We're going to be digging into understanding who God is, because it is vitally important to understand who God is, because how we define God, right or wrong, will determine how we live our lives. And I, for sure, want to live my life based on a true foundation. So I want to base my life on who God really is, not just on what I think and make up God to kind of fit my life. All right. So let's embark on this adventure these next few weeks. Join me and be challenged and challenge me. I encourage you guys, and I will see you guys next week. Hey, if you found this video challenging or helpful, I want to encourage you, like, subscribe, and share this video. I'll be posting a video every Thursday. So yeah, share this video on to everybody and anybody you know.